So when I can pull back for a second and say, okay, this is my goal. This is what I want to, this is where I want to be. And the reason that I'm doing this stuff that right now seems really monotonous and boring is because I'm heading somewhere.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisum, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com.
Hey everybody, John here. Thanks for being with us on the show. I'm here with one of my great friends, our podcast producer, Peter Hartzell. Hey, Peter.
Hey.
Yeah, so we're going to get into a conversation today, just kind of recapping some of the great things that have happened for NCS and the Song Revolution during 2019. And then we want to give you some things that we hope will help you make 2020 your best songwriting year ever. Sound good, Peter?
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I think the first thing I want to celebrate in 2019 is you came to join the NCS team.
The biggest win you've ever had in your. It's been such a joy and pleasure, and for me, it's been awesome to be a part of the team because I am a musician, I'm a worship leader, I'm a songwriter, but I don't function in any of those capacities on a professional level because I own a content marketing company, and so I tend to work with a lot of people that are songwriters or musicians or worship leaders or creative in nature, and helping them with the marketing side. And this has been such a cool marriage of my passions, getting to put together a podcast that is highly. I think we're in 165 countries around the world.
Isn't that something? I think there's only 205 countries. I thought there would be more, but yeah.
And we have over 100,000 downloads.
Right? And that's not counting the people that listen without downloading. Right. So hey, you guys download it so we can count you. So we can count you and feel good about ourselves. But
yeah, absolutely.
But I love what you do because I see you at church and you play drums. Man, you're like Animal from the Muppets one day. You were banging the skins, and then just this past Sunday, you were just doing a great job on the keys. You had this kind of arpeggiated pattern, and it wasn't automated. I mean, you were doing it, man. It wasn't sequenced. It was so cool.
Awesome.
And you're a great singer. You and Amanda write and sing, and so you're just this renaissance man. Doing all this stuff. Yeah, so treehousemediaco.com, right, is your business page. But we've loved working with you because you've just really brought a sense of cohesion and also just kind of you have the technical thing, but you're also marketing and concept, and you're just a great guy. You make great coffee, so
thank you.
I know, right?
I give my wife all the credit for that.
Exactly.
She was a barista for she managed a coffee shop for 10 years, and she knows how to make good coffee.
I like a 1-pump caramel latte extra hot. That's it. They get cold, and then a microwave just really reeks, right? It's bad for you too. All right. So you came on in 2020. We've slowed. I'm sorry. I'm already ahead. I'm already there, man.
We're already there.
But in 2019, but it's been an amazing year. We kept up our weekly release pace for a long time until this fall, and it just got to be overwhelming with everything that we do here at Nashville Christian Songwriters.
You started killing it is what happened.
I know,
you started getting busy and really killing it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, I mean, our coaching groups are full and a string of private songwriter coaching clients. And one of the things that's been kind of a surprise for me this year is how many ministries have kind of been birthed out of our songwriter coaching. You'd think, okay, I'm going into this 8-week or 3-month coaching experience, and so I'm going to just learn to be a great songwriter. And that's really been happening. But what I'm seeing is that whole ministries are being birthed. We have a client, a songwriter, a dear friend of mine over the last 5 or 6, has it really been 8 years? Becky Nordquist.
Oh, right.
And Becky, she would sing on my worship teams up in Michigan when I was a worship pastor at a wonderful church in the Grand Rapids area. She would come over. She actually went to a different church, but got to know her through some friends, and she would come and sing and lead worship with me and do special events. And Becky is one of the most genuine, authentic, spirit-filled worship leaders I've ever met. And she was an aspiring songwriter. She hadn't really developed that in her life. And then we wound up moving here. I just pursued her. It's like we started our coaching, and I'm like, Becky, I know you have a call on your life and you've got to come do this. And she's like, meh, 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 meh. And she even admits on the podcast we did with her a month or two ago that she dragged her feet. I eventually convinced her. And then this year she has exploded, Peter.
I know, it's crazy.
Amazing. She literally, her story briefly, I really recommend anybody who hasn't heard her podcast with us that you go listen to it, because it's very moving. Becky and her husband, David, have had 5 miscarriages and a stillbirth. Little Nicholas didn't make it past 5 months. And it's a tragic story, but as God so often does, he's bringing lots of healing ministry out of their pain.
Yeah.
And, I talked with her back and forth a lot about how she was writing. And I'm like, Becky, I know that you're writing out of this well of pain that you have, but there has to be some way to not just dress it up and put a Jesus bow on it and say everything's okay. You lost babies, right? Mm-hmm. And her statistic is that 1 in 4 women have or will experience miscarriage or infant loss. So that's a lot of folks, and that not only affects the moms, but the dads and the other children, and the whole family structure. So anyway, it's been amazing to see. She's released 2 singles now, and she is blowing up. She's on television, radio interviews, all this national stuff has just blown up. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, she credits NCS and the coaching she went through to have been able to walk into those co-writing situations and really, really carry her weight. And she's a skinny girl. And to really, Becky, I love you, you know that. But she to really walk in and do the job she needed to do. So, that's fruit, right, of this ministry. And
the testimony, I think, is, and what's amazing, and this is, I think, how this narrative applies to anyone that's listening to the show, is that you can have raw talent, but just having raw talent or having ability that isn't coached out of you, is wasted.
Totally true.
And I think a lot of people tend to think, oh, I don't need coaching, I'll figure it out, or I'll get there eventually, or I'm not really serious about it, so I don't want to spend the time
or the money
to do it. And but there's a lot of folks out there, I'm sure, if you're listening to the show and you are into songwriting, but you don't really know what the next step is, coaching is the next step. That's a good kind of indicator or a symptom of I'm ready for someone to come in and speak into my life. And you got to find someone that's been where you want to go.
We expect our doctors and our attorneys and our bankers to have all kinds of education, and we wouldn't let a brain surgeon, get a hacksaw on our heads if they didn't know what they were doing. And yet we just, we got to be careful not to spend the next 45 minutes on this topic, but I don't know where we Christian songwriters just think we don't need to learn anything about it, and that God's going to just drop our songs on us, out of the ether world. And I have people that I get on these potential client calls with, and they say, I've written 271 songs, and all of them I've written in about 10 minutes. And I'm like, okay. And then when I hear them, it kind of sounds like they wrote them in 10 minutes.
Right,
and
that's right.
I'm not trying to be mean-spirited or anything, but if you really want to up-level Is it level up or up level, or can it be either? Is that
think
interchangeable?
I mean, I usually hear level up, but I think up level sounds more trendy.
I always wrestle with that. So
T-shirt. The NCS up level. Join the up level.
But if you want to join the up level, man, you got to hang out with people that know what they're doing and can help you level up your songwriting skills. Because like Peter just said, you can have talent and it be just raw and unformed, but until you get the skills to go with that talent. So anyway, enough of that topic, but what a great year this has been. I think the other thing that's exciting to me is that God is extending our reach. We've already mentioned that this show has had over 100,000 downloads that we know, 165 countries and growing. But the other thing that's really cool, and I want to encourage all of you guys to go support this, is worshipfuel.com, which is the resource, a worship resource from CCLI, Christian Copyright Licensing International. Great folks out there. Big shout out to CCLI. If you're a worship leader in the church, you know CCLI. CCLI is not a performing rights organization. It is actually a Christian copyright licensing organization. Been around for decades. The Roshinskis, great people that started that back in the day, and wonderful people. And they've asked yours truly to write a monthly songwriting column. And we're in our 4th or 5th month now, I think.
Right.
And so just go to worshipfuel.com and check out their resources. Not only my column on songwriting, but all kinds of things. They've got Hillsong and Bethel and Corey Asbury and anybody you can name. Paul Balash, our dear friend. Great resources there for worship leaders.
It's amazing. The resource thing. If you don't look for coaching, or you don't look for outside information, I think that's probably why people listen to this podcast like this.
Sure.
Because you're hungry, you want to learn and grow. So definitely take advantage of those resources. They're free, they're plentiful.
I know, right?
And if you really take that stuff to heart, we were talking about this before we hit record. If you don't take action on things, then it's one thing to say, yeah, that's a good idea. It's another thing to actually do something with it.
I think that's a great segue into 2020. Thank you, God, for the wonderful things that have happened in 2019, things we have in the works that we're going to be able to shout from the rooftops, hopefully pretty soon. That it's really going to up-level or level up.
I
forget.
Up-level.
You like up-level?
I love up-level, man. I think that's a good one.
Maybe that's the title, up-leveling your songwriting in 2020.
So good.
I don't know, something like that. But
you get two marketers in a room and you can accomplish big things.
But awesome things that we're going to be able to tell you about. One thing we can go ahead and mention is worshipunderground.com.
Ooh, yes.
I don't want to leave that out. Our dear friend Stan Mosier, who was my CEO 20-something years ago at Star Song Media, when we were working with people like Twyla Paris and the Gaithers and White Hart and Petra and Newsboys back in that era. He is an icon, and we did a show with him not too long ago. And worshipunderground.com, you need to go check that out, because it's a new worship streaming service that will take your worship songs straight to the church. And that's what we've all been looking for, right?
That's right.
And so God's really inspired in him this new online streaming service where you submit your songs through NCS. We're managing the independent channel, which is called the Indie Premier channel. Got some great songs on there.
Really good songs.
Yeah. So you can go get a free 1-week trial by going to worshipunderground.com.
A lot of times people will say, well, I've got these great songs, but I just don't know how to find the right person to get the song to.
Right. You know what? That's
everyone's problem.
That's it. I hear that over and over every single day. It's like, how do I get my songs out there?
Yeah.
How do I get heard?
That's right.
Of course, we've
done a couple shows on that.
We have, right? So go back to the archives and check that out. But worshipunderground.com is a great place to start. So that's been a big deal for us.
Yeah.
Getting ready for that and getting all the back office stuff ready for that. So go check out worshipunderground.com and get ready to be heard by the world.
That's
all right.
good.
So back to your segue. That was a good segue.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
now that I'm sorry I derailed the segue for a second, but thinking about 2020, I'm gonna make a big disclosure here. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I just don't. I just think that they're kind of ridiculous. I think they put you into a negative mindset just to start. I feel like when you are putting yourself in the mindset of denial and loss, like and focusing on what you're giving up.
Right.
So I mean, I don't even believe in that.
It's like the scarcity idea of like the lack that, or the things that I need to resist. Well,
I suddenly want a donut. The one with the chocolate and the sprinkles, and then and
the bacon,
creamy. Now that's kind of gross to me. Okay, I don't know that I can go there, but why not put yourself in the mindset of celebrating what you can have?
That's so good. Oh my gosh.
Celebrate carrots, celebrate celery, celebrate broccoli, celebrate those things celebrate the abundance rather than the scarcity and the lack. And so I would like to lead us into the mindset of abundance and of let's make ourselves the greatest songwriters we can be in 2020, right?
So good.
So what are some ways you could imagine, Peter, you becoming, you're a great songwriter already, but what are some things that you think would encourage you and help you to become even better this year?
Well, I think that probably getting out of my daily rhythm or kind of shaking things up a little bit.
Right.
For me, I tend to be the kind of, we just talked about this, I tend to be the kind of person that I'll get an idea about something and I'll start working on it, and then I get caught up in the minutia of the doing.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the same thing over and over and over, and then the details become all I'm focused on. And I'm not focusing on why am I doing the details in the first place. Right. Yeah. And so when I can pull back for a second and say, okay, this is my goal. This is what I want to, this is where I want to be. And the reason that I'm doing this stuff that right now seems really monotonous and boring is because I'm heading somewhere. And so sometimes what I have to do is I have to put a pause or just take a hacksaw to what I've been doing and do something completely different for a minute and kind of realign myself with what is my end goal here. And I'm actually in the process of doing that right now with my business, where I've realized I've had some really good growth in some areas, but I hit a point where if I keep down this track, I'm going to get buried in details, minutia.
Right.
And I have to stop for a second before I get too far down that hill and start doing a few different things in order to head and get back on track to where I wanted to go.
Right. That's because you're so creative.
That's true.
You're a creative, and so the management, kind of like me, the management, the details take up so much energy, right? They kind of drain. So how do you pull yourself out? You take a little break from it, or just try to come back to the 30,000 foot view, walk away,
make some coffee.
Yeah, right.
Go for a walk.
And you make great coffee too. You've got the espresso machine. Yep. Well, I mean, Amanda being a barista.
That's all her. I'll give her all the credit for that.
Yeah, right.
And I think, but I think it can be as simple as just taking a walk. Going outside and just getting a breath of fresh air. In wintertime in Tennessee, we get a breath of fresh air. Yeah. Summertime, it's a breath of muggy air.
It's a breath of H2O. You're sucking in water.
But then, sometimes I'll set some goals for myself, some small milestones. Like, all right, I need to accomplish these things today, and if I can get these things done, then I'm going to reward myself with something that I want to do. And sometimes that's like, I'm going to give myself a few minutes to just work on a passion project. Maybe polishing a song I've been working on, or recording, or maybe going and hanging out with my kids and watching a movie, or do something.
Just mini rewards.
Yeah, rewards. And it's we were joking. It's probably something we'd want to do anyway.
Yeah, I know.
So sometimes you just go ahead but I feel like if I don't set goals for myself, then I don't know how close I am to achieving anything. But if I set a goal for myself, even if I fall short, and we're talking about scarcity versus abundance. So in this scenario, falling short doesn't mean you're missing anything or you're a bad person. It just means you're a lot closer to that goal than you would have been if you didn't set the goal in the first place.
Yeah.
So thinking again, we're talking about high level, 30,000 foot view. Let's set some goals and do some things to get us in the right, headed in the right direction.
Exactly. Well, what about another one being learn a new skill every month, right?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, in my role as president of NCS, I wear a lot of hats. One minute I'm marketing, another minute I'm creating an ebook or a proposal, or I'm doing potential coaching client calls. And probably many of you listening, hey, I probably talked to you. I hope I was nice. I care about you. I love you. Just for a second here, derail. I do a lot of potential songwriting client calls, and I'm telling them about our 8-week. We're actually expanding our program this year, and Peter, I don't think I've even had a chance to talk with you about this.
I chatted with our marketing guy, Brandon, about it, and he gave me some ideas of what's coming up. So
we're expanding because what we're doing, we've had for 3 years now, we've had an 8-week online coaching experience, which is based on a 12-hour video set and that I created that embodies my 35 years of songwriting success that I'm trying to download to people. But we're now expanding to 2 offerings, one that is that group that's limited to 4 songwriters at a time, but we have a one-on-one private coaching option now that's going to stretch into 3 months. So it's going to be a 12-week. Yeah. I'm really excited about that. Yeah. And people like Becky have come out of the private coaching, and others that are working on their ministries, now. So that's a real awesome thing to consider. But back to learning one new skill, right? I've been in a place where it's been demanded of me that, we didn't have tens of thousands of dollars to go out and hire. And I have a great staff. I mean, I do want to do a big shout out to my staff, you being one of them. Ian and Beverly Walbreck of subtlemonsters.com, who do all of our webmaster and graphic design. They're just amazing people. Yeah. Brandon O'Connor of Trustworthy Digital. Trustworthydigital.com. Great guy, just so brilliant with the Facebook targeting. Guys, if you're listening and you've seen a Facebook ad this year, pretty much it's because of Brandon. And then our vice president and my business partner, Robert Till, who has a deep publishing and pastoral background. And he's just a great man of God and has talked me off many a ledge. But, so God's given us a lot of growth this year, and we have a great team. I don't think I left anybody out, but I still have to do a lot, and still have to learn new things all the time. And, that really jazzes me. I love to learn, and I'm an audible.com freak. I have, I don't know, probably 100 or so books in my Audible library, and sometimes I listen 2, 3, 4, 8, 10, 12 times to a book if I'm trying to get it. So a lot of the things I've been learning about this year, and then I will continue into next year, is really just a lot of mindset stuff and how to keep myself healthy. So I would encourage our listeners to learn one new skill a month and then practice it through the rest of those months, right?
As a songwriter, and the majority of our listeners are aspiring songwriters, so what would be a good example of one skill that someone could, like today, if all they're listening to is this show and you say, go do this one thing, what would be a good example of one skill that someone could learn this month?
Well, for me, I always discourage our clients from going and learning Pro Tools or Cubase or go, if you've never played the guitar, suddenly you're going to go learn to play the guitar or the keys or theory. I always discourage that, right? But on the heels of that, I have, for my 35 years of songwriting, I have just really centered on creating hooks and lyrics. Now, I'm a melody writer too, but I pretty much left that to people I felt were better at it. Okay, yeah. And so one of the things that I want to begin to add or could add into my repertoire as a songwriter is to just pick up a book on melody writing, say from Berkeley or, or any other kind of resource, or, make a goal or set an intention to go to YouTube. I mean, my goodness, so much on YouTube that's there. All kinds of things. There's I'm gonna do a shout out for somebody that I really respect. Don't know him. I think is it Frederick Findesen? It's holistic songwriting songwriting.com.
Okay.
His YouTubes, Peter, are stupid, man. They are so good.
That's awesome.
And they're like, I'm jealous, right? His budget for creating those videos, holistic songwriting on YouTube. And he's German, I think.
Okay.
And I'm not sure. I know he's produced pop bands and stuff like that. So I have learned so much from watching his YouTubes about melody writing. Like one of his is how Taylor Swift writes melodies.
Oh, wow.
And Tom Jackson, who comes and teaches at our Song Revolution workshops, he's done 3 tours with Taylor, and he's always amazing at our workshop.
Yeah.
We have, I don't know when you guys might hear this, but our 2020 workshops are March and October. So just go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and check out the Song Revolution workshop. But he talks about Taylor's album 1989 that came out a couple of years ago. It's a great album, really, if you like Tay-Tay, and I do. And he said there are over 200 one-note melodies on that record.
Wow.
Anna, Bana, and New York, whatever that one is. Bana, Bana, da da da. And he actually, puts the rhythms and shows how it's a fascinating video, how Taylor Swift writes melodies, holistic songwriting on YouTube. So I could, for instance, learn more about great melody writing. Great. That would be one thing I would do. What's one thing you would do to add more skills to you? Because you're so skilled, and you do.
Man, I got it all down, so I don't.
You
there's
do.
Nothing I can
You do. I'm bowing down right now in the studio.
I have arrived, folks.
You have on so many levels. So if you could just get that pride thing conquered, you'd be all right. There you go. So.
That's what it is. Just be less prideful. Man, I mean, I really appreciate, a lot of times people are like, man, you just do so many things and you're so good at everything you do. And that's really encouraging to me, but I don't feel that. I mean, I think that when you're growing and learning, you don't necessarily feel like you're really good at things. And then you realize, well, maybe I'm not really, in my standards, I'm not as good as I could be, but maybe I'm better at it than someone else because maybe I'm just a little further along, or I've just had a little more experience. A lot of the stuff, frankly, I feel like this has been true in most of my life, is I'm more of a optimist, and if I see something that I want to accomplish and I don't know how to do it, I just go do it and figure it out.
Right.
And so I'm pretty good at pretending like I know what I'm talking about, because I don't give myself the option of saying I can't do that.
Right.
Now, there are certain things that I know my limitations, and so I think there are certain things that I will say I probably don't want to do that. Like that's not in my wheelhouse. It's a limitation. It's something that I don't need to spend my energy on, because I could spend that energy so much better on other things. And so I think for me, it's when I see something and I think, oh, that sparks something in my mind. Ooh, I'd love to be able to add that value to my life, or to my business, or to, just to friendships or whatever. Then, kind of like you said, I'll go on YouTube, or I'll find a book, or I'll find someone on Facebook that has done that, or is doing that. Exactly. And then I'll just say, hey, how are you doing that? Or how did you get there?
Exactly.
And then I'll absorb, learn from them.
Yeah, that's so cool. A couple of quotes come to mind. And Mark Twain, if I have it correctly, he said, assume a virtue and it is yours.
That's so good.
Isn't that cool?
Oh my gosh.
He says so many brilliant things. And then one of the, my wife calls them my gurus, but I read a lot of motivational things, and in my personal life, I'm actually beginning some ministry around motivation and devotion, kind of the blend of those things. Cool. But there's one of the coaches that I love. His name is Rich Litvin, Litvin. And in a newsletter this week, I wrote it down. He said, if you want to get good at a new skill, start by being bad at it.
So good.
I know, right? Because we want to start with the perfected
You want to be perfect.
Self, right?
You want to be so good at, in fact, my wife and I talk about this a lot, and that's kind of a common theme is, we're not going to just be perfect or really, really good at something that we're just starting out on. So
how could you be?
Let's be humble and hey, I'm really bad at this, or I don't think I'm that good, but I want to be. I
know,
want to be
right?
better.
Yeah.
And to what end, though? I think that's another perspective thing is, why do you want to be good at that? Do you want to just be good at it so you can be good at it? Or, what's the value?
Serving others.
Serving
that
others.
has to come back to
to be the
that
driver.
over and over.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to kind of wrap it up with one more, and that is that I think the best thing that any of us could do for 2020 is to just set the intention of raising our consciousness, if you will. That's not a bad word. It's not a weird word. It's not just for I said the word gurus, but setting an intention in our hearts to really be better human beings and to minister through our songs, not just to get our songs out there, not just to be heard, not just to get our little talented jollies out, but to really understand why God put us on the planet as songwriters, to really raise our understanding of love and to really use it as the ministry that it's supposed to be.
So good. So good.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. I mean, I'm not, and you know what, Peter, I'm going to just do another little full disclosure here. That's the journey that I've been on, even with NCS. It's like when we started this, we're moving into our 5th year. I didn't know what all we were going to be able to do. And it was, starting a company that was bigger than me, and when you have all these moving pieces and parts, and you're trying to pay people, and you're trying to really, marketing. My goodness, you're a marketer. The price tag on that. It can be scary. It can be a roller coaster. And the times that my heart fears are the times when I'm looking at the bank accounts, when I'm looking at the obligations, when I'm looking at the things that are scary. And the only way that gets me back in sync with God is when I realize it's not for me. It's not not about the paycheck.
Yep.
It's not about anything other than serving the people God's called us to serve. And NCS exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. And, by golly, He's letting us do it.
Man, I think that is a absolutely fantastic way to end this year.
Yeah, right.
I think leaving the year on that note and just letting everyone know that, if you're listening to the show, if you've been a faithful listener to the show, we are so appreciative for all of you. And, some of you are really engaged in our Facebook groups and giving feedback and interacting, and some of you aren't. But even for passive listeners, we're so honored to be able to speak into your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I'm behind the mic less than I am behind the editing desk.
Yeah.
But I hear everything, and I'm watching all this stuff, and I'm seeing all this stuff on social media, and it's so cool to see the impact that we get to have. And so from me, I just want to say too that I'm so thrilled and honored to be a very small part in helping to get this show out to the 165 countries.
I know, wow.
And all
That's
the people
humbling.
that get to hear and grow and be encouraged every day.
Hey, somebody's listening to us in Bahrain.
That's right.
I know, right?
It's
That's just crazy good. But, thank you, Peter, for all that you bring. And thank you, listeners. I really want to encourage each of you to make 2020 your best songwriting year ever. And that might mean that you go back and listen to all the podcasts, or that might mean that you take the step of joining our monthly NCS membership, or coming to the March or October workshops, or considering the 8-week or the private one-on-one 3-month coaching that we offer. If you're serious about it, just do the next right thing. That's all God's holding you responsible for is, what is He calling you to do, and how is He making the way? So thanks for listening. Thank you, Nashville Christian Songwriters, for letting us do this. You guys go check everything out at the site. It's a really robust site.
It is.
And so you guys just check that out. Enjoy the podcast. And here's a prayer that 2020 will be an amazing year for you. And when we're sitting here next year, you're going to be able to say some really cool things.
Absolutely.
So,
Looking forward to it.
All right, Peter.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yep. See you next time.
All righty.
Hey, what a fantastic show today. I hope you caught all the value bombs that were dropped on this one, and that you'll begin to immediately incorporate them into your songwriting. You know, you can get even more valuable songwriting tools and inspiration when you join NCS membership. You can become a part of a growing community of songwriters from around the world and tap into some of the most powerful resources available to step you up in your songwriting destiny. Check out NCS membership now at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and get ready for some exponential power to help you fulfill your call to write. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.